Okay, welcome. I don't want to get the name of your book wrong because I love it so much. Burned, blocked, and better than ever. And the cover is so amazing. Did you have any like say in that? Did you?
Yes.
I love
I
it.
yeah, I love I think my spirit animal is a phoenix. So that is just yeah.
I
When
say that
they
too.
showed it to me, I was like, "Yep, there it is. That's the one."
Yeah, oh, it's and the colors, everything. It's so perfect. Like that was
Um,
probably the reason that I was like hit yes immediately without even reading everything because I just love it. I don't know, colors really call to me, you know.
oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes.
Also, so kind of how I do this because it's very conversational and informal. Is I reread your profile before we talk and I go, what do I want to know about first?
Mhm.
So I think I would really like to start with, if this is okay, with you telling me, I mean, the whole kind of premise or foundation of, I'll say the work you do in terms of what I understand is it started with like an unraveling and coming back together after leaving a 15-year marriage. Is that a good
Yes.
summation? Okay. I
Yes.
would love to know who you were before that got you engaged in that relationship and then kind of what happened shortly, how kind of what that first part before you reached this place of like something's got to change.
Yeah. So a lot of that was what I call in the book specifically the blueprints that I was following in life. You know, I was born and raised in church. I could have been born in a pew if my parents would have wanted to do
Mhm.
that. And so I was just constantly told, this is who I'm supposed to be. This is, you're good, the good Christian girl.
Mhm.
What are you going to do with your life? I wanted to be in the ministry. So, of course, that meant I needed to be a pastor's wife. So I needed to find a good pastor. It's like you go to Bible college and it's like, you're there to find your husband kind
Yeah.
of
And
thing.
how old were you when you got married?
I was 20.
Me too.
I was
Okay,
really,
great, great. I knew it. Okay. Because when you popped on, I was like, yeah, I bet we did this around the same age.
yeah, sorry, I've got my cat on me too.
We welcome
Anyways,
pets.
yeah, he's here.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so that's where it started. Was knowing that to be in the ministry, I needed to marry a pastor and what that looked like. I had just always had this vision of what my life would be. It would be, you know, three kids,
Mhm.
just in the church, doing the churchly thing, having all
Yeah.
the parties. Like that's
Bible
just
study
what I
from
thought.
your house.
Bible study,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
Coffee, and it was doing all of that, but I was miserable,
Yeah.
just absolutely miserable. The
Mhm.
marriage was miserable. We fought terribly. It was abusive. And he was able to keep me in that because I was the pastor's wife.
Yeah,
Like if there's something wrong in the marriage, it's probably my fault. Like I'm
absolutely.
supposed to
Mhm.
be, the godly woman. And, if you read the Proverbs 31, the way that they want to read it is the men just got to sit around
Yeah.
and, the women are supposed to be this way. And yeah, that would have been all well and good if my marriage was happy, but it wasn't.
Right.
I did everything I was supposed to do and I was still miserable and unloved, and that was the big thing, was I wasn't loved in my marriage. I was a trophy. I was either good enough or terrible, you
Mhm.
know? So there wasn't love. Love just wasn't there.
Mhm. I do have a question because I always say I made all the right decisions for all the wrong reasons. And I love the way you put it. You were following the blueprint that was created for you. And I would
Mhm.
say, just from the church as a system, I had the same kind of philosophies and stuff. My grandma was real fire and brimstone. That's primarily who I was raised by. But she had a little bit of feminist in her. So, like, there was some things that were a little bit different, but mostly the same, but not like I was basically raised by a single woman. So there wasn't as much pressure, but it was kind of like, well, when are you going to get married? But my question is, were all your siblings like you, or were you more of the golden child of your system?
I was definitely the golden child. We started out, my brother and I, so it's just the two of us.
Okay.
We started out with my father. He raised us as a single dad. My mom and him, they were had a horrible marriage. They divorced really quickly. She moved out, and he kept us. So in that, I was the golden child for my dad,
Mhm.
and definitely my brother paid a lot of prices for all of that.
Yeah.
And, I definitely hit on that in the book because it was hard because you were told to do something, and then even if I did it right, my brother paid the consequences.
Yeah.
You know, he the it when I did it right, he would tear him down.
Mhm.
Like, "You would never do it as good as she could do
And
it,"
this is why I
that kind of
ask her to do it because I know she'll get it done right and you could never. Yeah. Same system.
Yep.
Yep.
And so that was the big like building blocks for how my mind kind of saw the world. And then when we moved in with my mom and my stepfather, they catered to him a lot, my brother, because he, had spent more years in the abusive part of the relationship. But the thing that switched in that relationship with my parents was my mom wanted me to be her best friend. And I was 12-year-old
Yes,
child,
taking on all her emotional stuff.
all
Yes.
of it, not all childhood trauma, but the guilt that she felt for leaving us,
Yeah.
with my father. So then she wanted the best friend. And so I spent, a good chunk of my adolescence trying to be everything for everyone and
Yes.
still not hitting the mark. And
Right.
then so when I left to go to Bible college, they wanted me to come back. They didn't want me to stay. And for me to exert my independence meant that they abandoned me. They didn't even come to my wedding.
Mm.
Take
Yeah.
my car, my money. They because I was no longer the good Christian
Those
girl, I was
systems.
exerting
Oh.
and exactly, I was exerting my own independence, and because of that, I was labeled the bad one. And, to the point where my parents were on the near brink of divorce and they blamed me. I wasn't even around. I was 400 miles away.
Right. And I
And
bet you in their mind, they really were like because they were fighting about you all the time, they were stressed about you all the time, all because they felt abandoned by your independence. I always say the golden child will become the black sheep when they have any sort of boundaries.
Yep. Exactly, and that's exactly what happened.
Ugh.
And so because of that, I felt compelled to exert my independence, but then do it in a way where I was like, well, I know I'm going to be a pastor's wife, and here's someone who wants to marry me. And his narcissism separated me from anyone else. Like he totally did that negging, like started
Oh,
out where,
yeah.
oh,
But
that
what a
person will never
perfect replication of your childhood scenario.
exactly
Yeah.
all of it. Just it was this constant loop of, negativity
Mhm.
and just rein- r- negative reinforcement of all the things
Creating
that
the
you don't.
illness to be the medicine. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so because I didn't have a family to go home to because they abandoned me, the only thing I had left was this man who was telling me I wasn't good enough for anyone else. And so I was like, all right, well, here I go.
Yeah.
And so I always talk about it. I say I made it when I got a divorce, it wasn't that I was making a mistake, I was fixing the first one.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
at the end of the day, that's what happened is I had to fix my first mistake. And it was a 15-year-old mistake, don't get me wrong, but mistake nonetheless.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think because I didn't come to any of this for quite some time, I went through a whole other marriage, which we're still married, but I mean, and happily now, but I was a lot of our problems because of a lot of the things we're talking about. He has his own stuff for sure, but like I was the one with most of the narcissistic traits in our relationship. But
Mm.
um I divorced after like 10 years and the
Oh,
stirring in me was like, I don't think this quite fits because it doesn't feel like what I think love is supposed to feel like. I wish
yeah.
that I had had the information I have now, but like at the time it was just like, I don't know. And very scary too, because I also really, I mean, it's not like everybody in my family wasn't divorced because they were, but I was the
Mhm.
golden child. So like I felt all this pressure to be perfect and to do this. I've always felt this sense of like I'm the role model. and not just for my family, but, like, even now I will say, like, I think my purpose is I go through stuff and share the experience, but I viewed that more toxically then, and so I really was like, "I am doing this all wrong for everyone around me." So I just wish, like, I'm so happy for you that that was the beginning of change for you and not, like, another freaking 13 years like I had.
Oh, no. Yeah. It was a hard road to get there, though, that's for sure, is to just
Yeah.
recognize patterns and how to change all of that.
What did that road
Was
look like for you? What was the very beginning, if you remember, or what? Because we talk so much in hindsight that we sometimes skip over because, like, I'll always say, the beginning of me trying to, stay alive was literally just, learning how to do breathing, trying to do creative projects, being intentional about doing stuff that made me feel joy, but, like, I didn't have any other information yet, so that was literally it. So I'm just tiny moving pieces. I quit a toxic job, I knew that was a big part of it, but, like, I was like, "We'll just shift this piece just a little bit and see if that helps." What did it look like for you?
Um, it was kind of a series of things, but I knew right away that things were getting different when we were no longer pastors. We signed up to do this. This was supposed to be our calling. This was supposed to be our life mission. But his narcissism made it so he couldn't be held accountable for anything. And we
Mhm.
kept losing positions because he didn't know how to be accountable. He blamed everyone else, and everyone else was the problem. And so finally, we're neither one of us are in ministry anymore. I'm working at
Right.
a desk job. He's working at FedEx. He had started drinking and the addiction. So, I believe addicts are addicts.
Right.
They're either, he was a workaholic to start.
Sure.
He'd work. And then so when he couldn't work in the ministry and you're limited on hours at FedEx, you start your addiction somewhere else. And that's when he started drinking, and then he got an injury, and so then he started mixing, pain pills with
Oh
it, and there were days
gosh.
that, times I couldn't even wake him up, like, he was just conked out. And so I'm watching my life going, "This is not what I signed up for. Not what I signed up for." And better or worse, sickness and in health, like, that was because we were on the same page of what our life goals were gonna be.
Yeah.
And as they kept going further and further apart, it was like, I wouldn't have married you. Like, if I met you now, we wouldn't be dating. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be in a relationship. We didn't have the same core values. We didn't have the same goals in life anymore. So it was like, why do I have to be stuck in this marriage when if it was right now, I wouldn't have chosen you.
Right.
And that is a really hard truth to come to. And then the next part that happened after that, because his addiction was growing, we had almost lost my mom, like 2 years before, due to alcoholism. She had almost died, and then she was at the point where she just needed so much medication. And my stepfather was constant caregiver.
Mhm.
She's 20 hours in bed and only 4 hours awake. Like, it just got worse and worse. And I'm watching that, going, I don't want to live like that either. Like,
Yeah.
that's like, no, I again didn't sign up for that. And yeah,
Yes.
we
Yes.
go yes, we go through, like, cancers and all that kinda stuff, but your core values stay the same. He was drinking himself to sleep, he was using it to self-medicate, all of the common issues with addiction, and I was like, "Yeah, you need to get help. You need to get help, and if you're not gonna get help, then again, that's just separated us more and more." And that was when it all started to change,
And do you all
you
have
know?
children together?
Yeah, I've got 2,
Okay.
yeah, right now my son's 19 and my daughter's 20.
Okay.
Um, but not 20, 14, sorry. My son's been
That's all right.
but I was just thinking, like, my ex-husband, he passed away from his addiction
Mm.
in 2020.
Mm.
Um, and so, just recognizing that all of that, uh, I'm glad I made the choices that I did. Hindsight,
Yes. Yes.
I'm glad.
Yeah, and it's
It
like
was
we
hard.
can't fix the early stuff, but that
No.
one decision, but I wonder because I really don't know how I got the strength to decide to leave a marriage because I didn't have any of that. I mean, there was stuff for sure, but we were both so immature and whatever. But
Mhm.
again, I was more of the aggressor. I mean, I wasn't, like, physically abusive, but I was pretty emotionally abusive, and, I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as, I did understand I was jealous and insecure, but, like, other stuff I just didn't know. I was just repeating stuff that I had been raised in, you know? How did
Yeah.
you get the strength with, like, not a very great familial support system to leave with, especially with 2 kids?
Yeah, that was hard. That was tough. I always tell people, I'm like, there's that saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. I had that camel was mush
Yeah.
by the time I finally walked away from
He
it
had
because I
no
was like,
vertebrae left, y'all.
nothing. There was nothing. I cut his heads off. Like it was just like I had to keep anchoring in. And that's in the book. It was is really important is you got to pick your reason and then you got to anchor in. And my reason for my was for my kids. I told them I want you to have two happy homes
Mhm.
because right one miserable one. And I kept in my mind going if I knew that my kids were in this kind of marriage, I would be like, get out.
Right.
You and so what am I teaching
Is this
them?
what I
I'm
want them to
teaching them
think a marriage should be?
exactly.
Same.
No. No, no, no. I do not want that for you. I would rather two happy homes.
Yes.
And so I anchored down in and I just kept that as my, when people were giving me attitude because as soon as they heard that the divorce was coming, I didn't hear from anyone from the
Oh,
church. The church
sure.
abandoned me. I still barely even yeah, I don't think I've seen any of them since. I never heard from them. Only one person reached out and then they were gone. Everyone was
Yeah.
gone.
Well, you abandoned
So,
them too if you know what I mean? Like, people just feel
yeah.
so personally attacked by others' choices when they are codependent and mesh people, especially in that system.
Yeah, exactly. And so, they all assumed that I was going to hell in a handbasket, that I wasn't, making godly choices. And I was like, and in that moment, I still had my faith. I'm still a pastor. I'm still, I didn't walk away from all of that. But what I was able to do is, as people were like, God hates divorce, I'm like, yes, but God still loves me. And, he gave me a
Yeah.
free will. And I get to make my decisions. And whether they're good or bad decisions isn't up to anyone else but me to figure out.
Right.
And it's always a good decision. It was always a good decision. And I would get little affirmations, little things here and there that I was like, "Yep, I'm going to take that. I'm going to hold on to that because it's true." And I needed that to get me through.
Ooh, truths are so important. You're so right. And to your point about like what you chose to anchor into, I'm not a Dr. Phil fan, but I did remember over and over a saying I heard from back in the day when I used to watch the show with my grandma. It's better for children to be from a broken home than to live in one. And I would just repeat that all the time because I knew that like if I had no understanding of how my childhood impacted me, but I did know I didn't have any healthy examples of what relationships should look like not one, and they were each very crazy. Every example I saw was crazy women in my family, and so I just didn't wanna be another bad example of a relationship. I mean, I continue to be not the best example of what relationships would look like, but they're seeing me grow at least now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm acknowledging where I'm wrong and why I do the things that I do. I can see now how afraid I am of things, and so I react from this place of fear all the time.
Mm.
And the last little, like, place where I do this the worst is with my husband, but I recognize that, and so I try every day to not do that, but I want them more than anything to see people who can hold themselves accountable and take their
Yes.
responsibility for things.
Yes, that is so important. And that's one of the things that I try to do in my coaching job is talk about emotional intelligence, and with emotional intelligence comes self-awareness, self-reflection, and accountability. It is
Mhm.
so huge. Be accountable for your actions. And in that making that a daily practice, you're also making you're taking the time to make choices that you can either stand behind and you're like, I thought this through. This
Mhm.
is the choice that I'm gonna make, instead of just being all willy-nilly and reactive, and you're responding. You're responding to everything in your life, every situation, every relationship, because you're self-aware. You're
Yeah.
reflecting, and then you're gonna be accountable for your choices. And, yeah, I think that's huge, and people just don't do it or are afraid to, because with accountability comes consequences,
Yeah.
and
Well, and
it's
even if
hard.
there's not consequences, because I've come to the understanding that like accountability doesn't have to mean some cross of perfectionism and that like you have to hate yourself or beat yourself up or whatever. It's just about acknowledging like, A, I'm the problem, and B, this is why I do the things I do, and let's fix that. Like the way I approach anything now really is like, I don't necessarily like the way I felt when that interaction was over, and that's not the way I wanna show up, but that's so different than, "Melissa, you know better," which was a constant loop before, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
I was curious, one of your, like, questions to be asked or whatever was about being a mirror in relationships, and I was curious what your take on that is because I have my beliefs about it and I hear other people, like, but I wanted to hear what your take on it was.
A mirror in relationships?
Yeah, I can look.
I was like, I might
What
need
does it say?
a reminder.
Oh, communication as a mirror. What are you really reflecting? Oh, we're good. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. No, so yeah, the communication as a mirror. I think that for me, when I talk about it, is all about active listening. Because we are just so used to not even hearing what someone is saying. We're ready with our response, and you stop building the relationship when you're not able to like say, okay, I hear this, and you're using it as a reflection and a way to get to their level. Like, I hear what you're saying. Is this what you're saying? This is what I hear. Is this what you're feeling? This is what I think I heard, and this is how I feel about it. How do you are we on the same page? Was that the response? Like, if someone's trying to address something in my life and I get defensive about it, I want to be able to say, I'm feeling a little like attacked, or I'm feeling, is that what you were trying to do? Did I mishear it? Like, mirroring that in communication really helps stop the defensiveness and the reactive. You really
Yeah.
get to respond. And I think that that is just so huge. That's how you don't break relationships. That's how you build them. And then you get to
Yes.
learn what that other person is thinking. We spend so much time not really understanding what the other person is thinking. We just make assumptions.
Yeah. Well, and based off our own worldview, our filter, our subconscious beliefs,
Yep.
truly one of the things that helped us the very most was me doing this show because it's been all about me learning, growing, through conversations
Mhm.
like this. But him hearing me learn what a psycho I am, all the things that I'm willing to take accountability for, he now doesn't take anything I do personally because he's like, because I
Yeah.
think that was a problem before and for good reason. I'm sure I blamed him plenty, but it just really helped because he listens to the show. And so, like, from a very neutral place, he can hear me say things instead of feeling attacked by everything even when I tried my best to be
Mhm.
neutral language and whatever, he has his own stuff. So he's hearing it from this like attack point of view. And I hadn't spent the time to create that foundation of safety either. And that is
Mhm.
something for myself I have to work on so much in communication is for me to stay safe in the conversation so that I am not reactive. Like that's
Yeah.
something I'm still actively practicing because I'm not like I'm a pretty reactive person, not anywhere near what I used to be. And it wouldn't be as outward as it used to
Mhm.
be, but like I can get triggered pretty easily by anything. So, like, I really have to sit and be like, "We're grounded. We're safe," like, no matter what is coming out of the other person's mouth, because I don't believe really that anything coming out of someone else's mouth has very much to do with me at all. I think that that's
Mhm.
their experience. So, I just try to, like, chill, but I'm not great at it all the time.
It's such a it's such a hard practice. Like, once you decide that you want to do something in your life, the amount of times that you have to keep doing it. Like, I did a different podcast and I said, I want to be someone that's known for love and kindness. That's who I want to be. That's how I want to interact in every situation. Some people want to be more assertive. I'm not that person. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'll go quiet. But when you decide to anchor in on it, the amount of tests, and I don't even call them tests. They're not tests, they're affirmations of
Opportunities
who
for
I want to
practice.
be.
Mhm.
Exactly. Like when I succeed in showing up to a situation that I could have been angry or frustrated or said inappropriate, demeaning things. Like, it's not like I don't have it in me. I just every time want to choose love and kindness first.
Yes.
And so because of that, I get to look back and be like, okay, there I go. Good job, Johnny.
Yeah, no, that's so real. I mean, even like I remember I used to want to be this like perpetually unbothered person because I was so reactive and it was like my greatest source of shame. I was like, I just want to be like Zen Buddha, like why can't I just not react? And when I first started this show, I had absolutely zero coping skills, zero. So everything that was a minor frustration became a major ordeal. And I remember having this major tantrum over something that really didn't require that. And I finally was like, fine, 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 fine. I get it. I get it. I get it. You're saying that as long as I continue to act like a raging psycho at every minor inconvenience, I will still be met with minor inconveniences to give me the chance because I'm saying over here, I really want to show up as this person. And I will tell you, because I literally just threw my hands up in the air. I was like, fine, I don't care. It's not that big of a deal. And it's really not that big of a deal. And I just chilled out. And guess what? The task got done faster without me wailing because I couldn't figure it out. I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
necessarily help me figure it out, but like when you're calm and coming from a rational place, it is a little easier to deal with something. But that was my whole thing was like, I don't know how to show up like that. And it just registered one day like you have to practice showing up like
Yeah.
that. It doesn't just happen. It's like the old saying, never ever pray for patience.
Never.
Ever. Ever in your life. And anytime I've tried to tell somebody else that and they get frustrated, I'm like, okay, well, you'll see. You're not going to be a very patient person at the end of this year if you continue to pray for it and without understanding what you're asking for. But I did used to
Exactly.
think, and wisdom. Ugh, I hate myself for praying for wisdom as a child. Uh, but like, I believed one day I would just be wise and patient. Well, I think you know that that's not the case.
Yeah, no, it's hard. But I think there's just so much excitement when you finally get to that point and you're like, okay, I handled that the way that I wanted to. I showed up in the
Yes.
I have been trying to show up and the other thing too that sucks is some people just don't understand it. They're like, why would you allow that situation to happen in your life? Fair, you're not wrong, but at the end of the day, it's how I wanna conduct myself, and
Mhm.
I want to be someone with love and kindness, and that means that I have to not turn the other cheek or ignore, but just show up with love and kindness where others might not, and
Yeah.
I'm happy about that. That makes me proud of the person I'm becoming,
Yeah,
so
and some again, that can be a mirror into what somebody else believes is love for themselves even. But I had a guest on here one time that really opened my eyes about that even more when I was talking about because I'm kind of a pendulum swinger and then I have to find that middle ground. So I kind of went from being very internalized, freeze or fawn in public, take it all out on my family because I'm not saying even the right things to them. I'm just taking it out on them, right? Um,
yeah.
and so I wanted to be a more assertive person, like in the moment, call someone out instead of I didn't want to be cruel, but I did want to be like an advocate for myself the way I have been for others my whole life. And so
Mhm.
I was having a weird little thought spiral that morning, which doesn't happen very often. So I feel like it was so like meant for that conversation. But about this boomer lady that I worked with who got really mad at me over something stupid, yelled at me in front of a bunch of people, and was just super inappropriate. And I have a little issue with boomers. So, there was a lot there. But like, I was saying like, "Yeah, if that happened now, I would do X, Y, and Z." And she's like, "Yeah, but like, maybe you just have a belief about what strong women or women who advocate for themselves like look like. Like maybe it's okay if even now you didn't do that." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I like that actually." Cause I think I was feeling shame that I didn't stand up for myself or, whatever. And because I don't want to continue this like dynamic of respect your elders, because I'm like,
Mhm.
I just don't believe in that anymore. Because if you're not going to be respectful to me, then I'm not going to respect you either. And not in some like aggressive way, but just like I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to take in your opinion. 'Cause the boomers, they be loving to share their opinions so
All the
much
time.
forever. And so, I get frustrated with that. But yeah, I think just changing the belief about like you don't have to do anything. Like how do you want to present in this world? And as long as it feels authentic to you, because there are some people who like I would probably have said something similar to what you're saying now at that time in my life when it was really just about fear. But I
Mhm.
still, even in advocacy, don't want to be an unkind, cruel person. So it's just about how you want to show up.
Yep, exactly. How do you wanna show up? You get to decide who you wanna be, and then you get to be it.
Yeah. And I like what you said too about you made a choice and then you anchored into the choice. Cause that's what I'm always saying to people is like, especially around the topic of self-love, is like, it really started with one decision, and then I affirmed that decision over and over and over. Every time a negative thought would come up, I reframed it. Every time I would say, because I was real good at the self-deprecating humor, and every
Oh.
time it would just fly out without thinking, I would stop to whoever I said it to and say, "I shouldn't have said that," and reframe it right there out loud because I knew rewiring my subconscious was gonna require that. Like, that I can't
Yep.
do things the way I used to do them and try to be this, more healthier version of myself.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, I know for me, once I anchored down, I had to celebrate the small wins because the big losses felt really big. Like
Yeah.
when I was sleeping in my car because my ex-husband managed to get me kicked out of the house.
Mhm.
If I hadn't celebrated every step along the way and knowing because the way he managed to do it, I was like 3 days out from buying my home. And so I was like, okay, this right here can be a big loss, or I can celebrate all the little wins and look towards the next big win that's coming my way. I'm not someone that normally likes to do the whole glass half whatever, but like that was what got me through.
Yeah.
Like I had to stop looking at, half full and it's getting fuller. It was the problem. That made a huge difference for
Yes.
surviving that.
Yeah, well, I mean, and God, what an awful thing to even experience. But I
Yeah.
think hope is born in those moments where you can say, it's not what I want it to be, but I know I'm about to be there. So I just kind of call that the middle ground, where like we spend so much time resisting in that middle ground before we get the thing that we're trying to get and drive ourselves insane and make it so much harder for ourselves when you can just allow things to unfold the way they're going to unfold and do your part, obviously, do the things that you can, but just know like you're gonna get to that other side with or without all the crazy of the middle ground. So
Mhm.
how do you wanna feel when you get to the other side? Do you wanna feel like you were a chaotic mess through that whole time, or do you wanna look and go, "Okay, I'm just gonna skip the part where I have this internal freak out for 3 days and whatever," and I just go, "Hey, it's coming. It's gonna be okay."
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's key right there.
Yeah, but it's scary. It is hard. I don't want anyone to feel dismissed by that because listen, I make a mess of the middle ground all the time still. I have to remind myself of my own words all the time and go, "Hey, how do you want to feel when this is over?" But I mean, someone taught me that. Like, imagine how you want to feel, picture yourself feeling that way, get in that
Mhm.
energy, and now survive this moment in that energy. And it really has been so life changing for me because, boy, I was a mess in that middle ground. I was constantly just looking for control of a situation. How can I fix? How
Right.
can I change? You can't. You can't. You can change you. So that's what I
Yeah.
do. If only we
I
could
feel
control everyone around us. My God, life would be so much easier.
so much easier.
I say that, but it's like, man, if I'd gotten all the things I thought I wanted, my life would sure be without as much, like, hope, meaning, joy as it is now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the best part is, when you're spending time with someone and really getting to see who they are. It's just something so beautiful when you just know that those masks, that stuff is coming down, those guards. It's just like, there you are. Can I hug you?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, and it just makes you so much softer when you start to trust yourself, because that's what I
Hmm.
really had to figure out was because I was doing this work to try to figure out why I was still protecting myself from my husband through my thoughts and actions, and I realized at first, I was like, "Oh, I'm still afraid to trust." And
Hmm.
then I realized who I was afraid to trust was me. I still kinda had that nagging "I'm not enough" narrative somewhere deep in the subconscious. It was not conscious anywhere anymore, so I had to really dig and figure out where that was laying so that I could,
Hmm.
excavate it and be like, "Oh, but that's not true. Like, I am so enough." And kind of just like no matter what happens when I trust, if it doesn't work out, I know I'm enough to face it and to live with it and to move through it, and that was such a big piece for me to in dropping that last well, I'm sure there are still protective layers, but you know what I felt like was a huge boulder in between us was just
Hmm.
going, yeah, okay. You could trust him and then he could make you look stupid. That's a big one for me. It always is kind of back there like I'm not going to look stupid because if you're cheating, I'm going to know about it. It was so ridiculous, but I just realized like, okay, and like so let's say you give all your heart to somebody and they just break it. It won't
Hmm.
break you, and that's the important part. So, that's been huge for me in moving through all of those protective layers is just understanding it was me I had to learn how to trust.
Yeah, I love that. I love all the self-awareness and self-reflection. I wish people understood that doing that work, the work that you're talking about of digging down deep, is it makes you excited when you finally discover. Like it's like,
Yes.
yes, thank you. I am no longer stuck because I don't think we really enjoy that aspect of ourselves. We don't
Mm-mm.
like the reactive. Nobody likes being miserable. Nobody likes being angry. Nobody really enjoys that part of who they
Right.
are. So when you do that work that you're talking about, oh my gosh, it's just,
It's
you feel
beautiful.
it's beautiful and it's
Yes.
exciting, and then you get to share that, and then you get to build on that, and I just wish people understood, and you don't have to be in therapy to do that, it helps,
Right,
but
right.
just being that self-aware and self-reflective and going, "I don't like this part of me, what do I need to do to change it?" You
Yes, I
know?
hate the way I
That
feel when I'm like that. Yes,
Right.
absolutely. But I find the human experience is like, I believe we are all avoidant in some way. That's why I like that there's this little niche out there that talks about avoidance and dismissive versus, all the things. I like that, but there's so much more to that story. We're all avoidant. It just depends on who's triggering it, when, and how. But I'm noticing so I'm, like, hesitating because I just never know, like, I just lost my 18-year-old son a couple of weeks ago, and
Oh,
you're only, like, my 3rd recording back, but, um, I posted a really vulnerable, like, solo episode today, and YouTube is pretty wild on the shorts, like, the comments that you'll get,
mhm.
but I posted that talking about it really helps, like, that I've been talking to my family, I've been talking about, to friends, whatever, and this lady commented and said something to the effect of, "I'm glad that helps you, but it would never help me. I wanna keep my grief warm and cozy," and I could tell, like, she's just at that stage because I lost my parents young and, like, I've had lots of loss in my life, but this is the first one I'm very intentionally approaching to not like, as healthy as possible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I remember because I was only 15 when I lost my dad, I remember very consciously holding on to the pain because it was the last connection to him. And if I let that go, where does he go? And, whatever. And I could tell that's where this lady is in her grief process. But I'm just like, if we could stop being my son would be alive right now. He died of an accidental overdose. He would be alive right now if he wasn't so afraid to feel. So afraid.
Yeah.
And I spent so many years so afraid to feel. And I'm uncovering just in the last, well, I guess it's 3 weeks now, but where I still am afraid to do things. And in grieving, I've been so afraid of certain things. Like I was so afraid of it turning 2026 and being like, how do I go to a year without him?
Mhm.
And it wasn't nearly as awful as I was anticipating, and if I had done anything to try to avoid it or escape it or anything, I would have robbed myself of the lesson of, like, it sucks. I'm not saying it was, like, not sucky, but it also wasn't, like, as painful as the day leading up to it being like, "How awful is this gonna be?" And I found myself in fear several times, and I'm like, "Oh, this is just that thing that we do as humans, and we're
Yeah.
so afraid to feel, we'll do anything, including hurting ourselves, like, all the things I ever did to try not to feel hurt me so much more than, like, 90 seconds of processing emotions. Because that was my
Mhm.
things. I intellectualized everything, minimalized, trivialized, which we are taught to do, especially as women. But, when I attack a thing and go, let me just feel this for a second, if you're not feeding emotions with crazy thoughts, they do pass in 90 seconds. And even with the worst loss you can possibly imagine, that is the truth. That is the
Yeah.
truth. It comes
Mhm.
and then I feel it and I'm able to move forward. Comes back a lot too. I mean, it was my kid, but like, it's not it's not unbearable. It's not a thing that has to break you in a bad way, you know? Like, you can get through anything if you learn how to process emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, I am so sorry.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh. Mm, but you're right. The process of feeling those feelings is probably more scary for people. I know I get when our house burned down in 2023, I just remember sitting in the hospital and like I hadn't cried and
Yeah.
I was my all my emotions, and I just laid there going, "How am I gonna do this? What is gonna happen?" And I had to take some time to grieve because what ended up happening was, I sent it was trauma response, like, I was
Mhm.
just like sent a email to a friend, I'm like, "You wanna start dating?" Like, just stupid things like that, because I wasn't processing my feelings about
Yeah.
it, like I went into survival mode. I was calling insurance. I was figuring all this out. I don't I barely even remember crying about it, but my feelings were coming. They were coming and
Yeah.
they getting out in various ways. And so I had to be very intentional. Once I recognized that I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have sent that email."
Did you say that to them after? Like, "I probably shouldn't have
Okay.
said that." What happened with your house? How did that happen?
Oh, yeah, it burned Memorial Day of 2023. We were just trying to like burn some stuff at a fire with our fire pit, and it was too close to the house, and a little ember hit some dried
Yeah.
leaves, and it just went
Were you
up.
guys
I've never seen
hurt?
fire move fast like that. No,
Good.
we lived in townhomes, and it took out 4 townhomes. There were like 7 trucks.
Oh
It was crazy. It's actually
gosh.
on YouTube. You can find it.
What a
Um,
nightmare.
yeah, it was a nightmare, but everyone made it out, all the pets made it
Oh,
out,
thank goodness.
everyone was safe, but yeah,
Oh,
it
that
was
loss though. Oh, I know
yeah.
that's been a journey.
Oh, it was incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because you had
So,
all the things still in there that meant so much to you. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, my heart hurts
but
for you.
the fire didn't get the water did, you
Yes,
know?
yes. Oh, that
And,
hurts. Mm.
we just finally, bought a home. We were renting that one, but, it's been hard to move into it because, just remembering that grief of losing everything,
Yeah.
it's just like, "Oh, do I really wanna put my heart and soul into something that
Do I
can go
make
up
it
in flames?"
mine and lose it again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But, I mean, I have to recognize that's just grief
Yeah.
talking, you know? I do get a lot of joy by painting my walls something bright, by decorating, by putting up pictures. That does bring me joy. I just need to face the fear and then embrace the joy that comes from it.
That's exactly right. That is so fitting for all the things I've been talking about this week because it is just fear. That's all it
Mhm.
is. That's the only thing your brain knows to do to keep you alive is to feed you fear. That is literally all it knows how to do. And I was saying that to someone yesterday who just didn't quite get what I was saying. And, they were like, "Well, I mean," because I was like, "I stay out of my brain," like, unless I have to make a decision, but I didn't clarify that, and they were like, "Yeah, but I mean, logic," and I'm like, "Yeah, there's no logic when we're talking about feelings, so, like, if you're trying to feel something, you got to get out of here," but I was like, okay, whatever, you don't get it," but, yeah, I think I'm still surprised the way fear has different shapes and colors, and I
Mm.
don't know it's fear because it feels so real and true, whatever it is, like, it just feels so real and true, and it's not. It's not at all, it's always a lie, and I'm trying to teach my 23-year-old that right now, like, "I hear you, I honor that, but that is your brain lying to you, because can we unpack that a little bit?" Because it just is what it is, that's literally all your brain does. Unless it's helping you solve like a logical, rational problem, it does its thing there, and that's great. But there is no room for that when we're talking about our hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, and those hearts, they're not as strong as we'd like to think they are sometimes.
Yeah. Well, they just want to be protected at all times.
Yeah. They reflect our inner child that we're still
Yes.
loving on.
Yes. So much
That
inner
poor
child
inner.
work, so much like I've had to tell, one of the things that I feel so like the most grateful about in this grief is that I have done the work on myself that I have the last 2 years because I do feel proud of the model that I'm able to be for my kids. Not because they don't see me lose my shit, not because whatever, but they're seeing that I don't get caught in thought spirals. I'm not, sitting around blaming or whatever. I'm grieving like I'm supposed to, but I'm able to like teach them things about their processes too. So one of the things that I've had to teach my son cuz of course right now he's just so open to everything I'm saying, but um I was like, "Do you understand like how many times a day even before this that I had to tell myself you're safe?" All the time. Like I'm constantly talking to some younger version of me like, "Hey, you're safe. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
to protect ourselves from that." Again, fear. It lives very deep inside of us. And again, our brain is going to feed us fear and catastrophe every turn. So
Yep.
I think I will constantly be surprised at the way this is showing up in my life and being like, oh, fear got me again. It was a different disguise this time.
Yeah, it definitely has that with me too. Like I just constantly I'm supposed to have a meeting with my one of my bosses next week and I'm like, don't give in to fear. It's fine. They're not going to fire you on the spot. Maybe they will, but if they do, it's fine. We can figure this out.
What is it about meetings that will be like, they hate me? Okay, I knew it.
Yep.
I knew it. I mean, the first thing, but that's that good girl stuff because we're
Yeah.
constantly worried we're in trouble for something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. Every
Yeah.
time someone's like, can we meet? I'm like, oh, I'm dead to you. Okay. Yeah. What time do you want to deliver that news to me?
Or they're like, "Hey, you got a minute to talk?" And if I don't, I'm like, "Yes, I do. Tell me now."
And then it's never like something you should have taken the minute for, but you're like, well, I thought you were going to fire me. So
Yeah.
every time, literally every
Every
time. That's so
Yeah.
funny to me. But it's just inner child stuff. I mean, our little baby children were, taught some real weird stuff as so, we respond weird and that's okay. But it's funny
That's
because
okay.
it's all of us.
Yeah.
You and I are aware of it, but not everybody is,
Mm-mm.
which is a little
No.
wild for me.
It's hard to watch because, like, I'll watch someone make a decision and I'm like, "I know where that's coming from." And you can't say anything. You can't do anything
I
because they haven't done
know.
the work, but I'm just
I'm
like, "Oh."
learning that you can't say anything. I'm learning that, but, I really want to say things, and it's never well received. I've had to learn this a lot of different times in my life. if I want to say something, I have to say I 1,000 times. And well, I
Mm,
mean, for me, and the things I've learned, which are not untrue, but really, if you ever say you to someone when you're noticing stuff, interestingly, they don't appreciate it.
yeah.
Like, I try so hard to shut up, but sometimes I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, it's so obvious to me, how do you not see that? But I think that's one of the beautiful things about, like, getting really intimate with yourself and knowing
Yeah.
so much about yourself. It makes understanding other people's behaviors so much easier because I'm like, "I do that too." And I know why I do it, so I know that's why
Yeah.
you do it too, you know? And then
Yeah.
that's where I think the most beauty comes from relationships is like it's no longer me versus you, which is how I approach the entire world. It is
Mm,
all of us. How can we just exist in a more harmonious, space? Like all of us
yeah.
as a collective in our interpersonal relationships, whether they be intimate or not. And I think it all starts with knowing you, looking at you, focusing on you, growing you. You can't help but become a part of a oneness when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it just helps with, when we're able to do that, when we recognize, "Oh, that's your inner child speaking right now." Then
Yes.
it helps us really have more grace, and I think that that's one thing that, I want to see, love and kindness, but also grace because,
Yes.
listen, I'm 46 years old and I still fuck up,
Yep.
but I want to give you grace, and hopefully in return, you'll give me grace because I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna apologize, or I'm gonna, take ownership. I'm gonna do those things. Just give me some time to
Yes.
recognize because,
Yes.
we know when it's our inner child. We know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you're gonna relate to this. Did you ever did you ever think that when you communicated an issue to somebody, like, when you do this, I feel this, that they should then never do that thing again if they care about you? Because that is the way I viewed that. I was like, well, I did all the things. I communicated, whatever. And it wasn't until I realized I'm holding them to that standard because that's the standard I hold to myself. Not because I was stopping it and being perfect from then on, but I could beat myself up for not being perfect immediately and whatever. And when I realized, like, give yourself that compassion and then you can give it to others and receive it from others as well. But
Yeah.
boy, I really thought if you told your husband that it really bothers you when he does this thing, I shall never do that again for the name of this relationship. I fully understand what you mean by that. And yes. And then
Yeah.
I got to this place where I was like, let's be willing to show up imperfectly. And even when if you say something that really pisses me off, I'm gonna just be the container for my own safety, stay chill, and understand that in 5 minutes, you're gonna come back again and you're gonna go, "Okay, so that's not really what I meant."
Yeah.
And it took a while for me to get there, but I had to give myself that permission first.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that that is exactly true. It's just having that compassion, but then even having that conversation, I think it's a good practice to have those conversations because that's what I tell my people. I'm like, "I can't fix something I don't know, so I need you to tell
Right.
me what what is the problem here? How," and then give me the opportunity to show up for you. And so that's the way I approach people that, I have issues with, some of my coworkers. I can't expect them to change if I don't tell them. And
Yes.
so I have to be willing to have that really uncomfortable conversation. And then I have to have some more grace to be like, next time it happens, just kind of look at them, be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they realign. But yeah, it's always having that first tough conversation
Ugh.
that is.
And Lord knows I'll try to avoid that conversation as long as I can. I was always and this is where I still struggle too, is like, yes, but if I take all of the responsibility for this, I never have to have the hard conversation and I can just try to fix myself really quick. And then, we're fine. Or at least I'm going to pretend like I am. I still find myself doing that. And I'm like, or you're just afraid to be vulnerable. So go tell them. Because that's like so often, once I just say it out loud, I can hear where I was a little bit wrong too. Like, where I took a misstep or maybe I didn't realize this was hitting some wounding and I was taking it way more personally than I should or whatever. That is like such the key to all of this is to just get it out. Not because
Yeah.
someone needs to respond perfectly, because that was my whole thing. I had a friend who was so good at being assertive, and I mean, we're still friends, but we've been friends for a very long time. So she's seen lots of different versions of me. And I remember the version of us in our 20s. She was very assertive and very okay with saying what she needed and, don't do this and whatever. And I was real like, well, I'm just not like that. So, and she would always ask me, like, why didn't you say something to them when they did that? And usually, like a family member. And I'm like, well, I just don't see the point in it because then they're going to come back with their narcissistic shit and whatever. And I realized through grief, actually, that was where I found, oh, I've been afraid to be vulnerable. That's all this is. That's all that ever was I was afraid to show weakness or realness or, slip a mask off or whatever. And nobody has to respond a certain way. Like, that's not the point. The point is get it out. That's how
Yep.
you stop internalizing everything is just get it out.
Mhm. Yeah, for me, I think the one that the inner voice that I fight is the rejection, like, if I say
Mhm.
something, I'm just gonna be rejected,
Yeah.
and
And that'll hurt even
and
worse.
hurt even worse, but, getting to that point where it was like, "Okay, well, fine, then that just means I'm making more room for a more authentic relationship."
Yeah.
If I
A more
can't share
aligned one.
Yeah, if I can't share my feelings or even have a basic conversation about boundaries or anything like that. If I can't do that and I get rejected, then it's just making room for something better to come in and fill that space and fill that time and show up in effort that I need and that they want from me. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think
yeah.
too, if you approach those conversations with more curiosity than like results focus, I
Mhm.
think that you see you're able to see their inner child so much better because you go, I mean,
Yeah.
how many times have you been in a conversation and go, that is like their inner 7-year-old talking. Like I could name the age you got stunted there, like it's so many times I'm like, that is not this current version of you talking to me. So how can I? But again, I just think talking, being vulnerable, and not being bound by fear changes
Mhm.
everything.
So much. And then just some beautiful relationships that come out of it.
Absolutely. All of my relationships are better. When I got softer and was able to receive what people had been trying to give me for years, but my thought was they aren't doing it right, which meant
Mhm.
perfect. Um, and I pushed everyone away my whole life. And now I'm able to just like take in all this warm, fuzzy love from people because I love myself and I'm not trying to protect myself from love.
Yeah. Yep. It's beautiful. Just beautiful.
Well, I got such a good time with you. Tell us where we can find you.
You. I am on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. I had to restart a new Instagram, so you can find me at author Joni Woods on there. And yeah, I've got my website. You can johnnywoods.com. You can message me there. All of it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to push stop if you'll
Okay.
hang out for 1 sec. Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.